welcome everybody to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I am your host, JC Granger, and I have the pleasure of having Brad Hawkins, the CEO of SaferNet, here with me. Brad, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that SaferNet does.
Well, first off, thank you so much for letting me be on your podcast and speak about what we do. And very interesting. We found out we're kind of neighbors, so that's
Yeah,
kind of
you're
fun to
just down
speak,
the road.
talk,
You're basically just down the road from me, it
talk to
turns out.
somebody in our jet. It doesn't happen very often on podcasts, so it's very
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, SaferNet is a cybersecurity tool that goes on any endpoint device that keeps it safe, whether it's in behind a firewall or out there in public. And we've designed it to make it so that small businesses' life can be very easy and simple. It's kind of an all-in-one tool that provides security for small businesses.
That's interesting. So, I mean, listen, everyone has probably heard of a VPN. Okay. That part's the easy part. So I guess the question is, what sets yours apart? Do you have any, bigger security to it? Does it run faster? I mean, just, what is it about your VPN in general that might be a market difference right now?
You know what I absolutely love about your comment is that when we started this thing, we were having to educate people on what a VPN was. So it is so fun to hear
It's very
that.
tech. I would assume at least that most of our audience would know this, but just for clarification, why don't you define VPN for everyone
No,
and
no, it's
exactly how it works?
you're absolutely right. Most people know what a VPN is now, and our marketing has had to mature through that process. But yeah, VPN is just I like calling it a tunnel, an encrypted tunnel or a secret tunnel that allows you to travel through the internet in a way that people can't find you, and that if they did, all of your traffic is encrypted so nobody can access it. So that part is fun. What makes us a little bit special is that we put virus protection inside of that VPN. And I'll tell you the reason is that there's a lot of really bad websites out there. And if you use a VPN without virus protection, i.e., anybody except us, you will end up at a website that you could deliver a virus right through your VPN into your network, and nobody wants that. So what we do is we stop it before it actually is able to touch your network, touch your servers, touch your desktop or your phone or anything, and get it to the place where you can surf the internet completely safe in a way that you can have confidence that most people don't have.
It's interesting you say that having that confidence. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm a techie person, but even I assumed that if you use a VPN, that the whole point was that it would be safe, right? And but what you're essentially saying is that, yeah, maybe the tunnel's safe, but you might pick something up and bring it back with you. And I think that a lot of people would have just assumed that that was part of what was already covered in VPN. So I guess what's the point of a VPN if it doesn't already come with that? I mean, I'm glad you guys created that part of it, but that almost kind of blows my mind that we've all been using VPNs thinking it was more secure than it really is.
You know, that is a very true statement. That is very true. Most people believe that if you're in VPN, you're safe. What I find is there's a couple of large problems with a VPN. One is the one we just described. You can wind up at a website that is packed full of viruses, and you can deliver a virus to where you don't want that. And the other part is that most VPNs you have to go in there and turn on. And in my perspective, if you don't have a VPN that's on 24/7, always on, you're at risk all the time. If now most people buy a VPN so they can spoof, so they can bounce from create a change in your location. And if you want to go watch some European show that is not available, it's a great tool for that. We use a VPN for security, and that is That is our sole focus, is to create a VPN that is designed for security purposes. So because of that, we somebody has to password out of the VPN to make sure that you're not accidentally exiting your VPN. Because what happens is, if you have to, let's just say you go into Starbucks and you flip open your laptop, you do a couple of things, maybe respond to an email or do whatever it is you do. And then you think, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go pop onto my server at my office. I need to turn on my VPN. Well, during that entire time, you were vulnerable to receive a virus from any location. And now you've got a virus on your laptop, and now that laptop can deliver a virus into your network, and it is completely useless in regards to the VPN, other than your security protocol requires it. So
Wow.
when we keep that VPN on 24/7, that thing is an airtight system that allows you to be able to do whatever you don't need to remember your VPN. You don't need to remember to turn it on. So
Hmm.
with those two aspects of thing, we are very proud of what our developers have been able to do, is to come up with a really closed network of safety.
Let's talk about speed. I remember when VPNs first came out, one of the downsides that people realized was that by entering this tunnel, it had, let's say, limited speed limits, right? So you might have a really fast internet, but by using a VPN, it slowed it down. Is that something that's an issue right now, or am I able to, like, whatever speed that I'm doing download and upload right now, I'm able to replicate that even when using a SaferNet VPN or any VPN for that matter?
Excuse me. Um, I always laugh at that question because I had a very unfortunate circumstance where I was driving down the highway, and I got a phone call from a radio station, of a troubleshooter. So a guy that is like a consumer advocate.
Hmm.
And he was calling saying that he had somebody on air saying that we make the statement that we don't slow down their internet. And now let me just clarify that. Our latency is what that's called. Our latency is 0.01%. So you don't notice us slowing down your internet, but there's no VPN on the market that does not slow down your internet, because you have to go through a certain protocol to be able to operate a VPN.
Sure. I mean, it takes
However,
a bit of time to filter things, so obviously there's going to be a little bit of slowdown.
right, but ours measure out at 0.01, so it's you can't even distinguish the difference. But the caller was calling in saying that we speed up the internet. And I said, well, technically speaking, we do not speed up the internet, but it feels like you speed up the internet. And this particular troubleshooter would did not believe that. And I said, well, the reason is that what we're doing is we're blocking out so much other traffic. And you can even see we have on in our dashboard, we show you everything that we're blocking that you don't even know that's reaching in and grabbing your CPU
Oh,
speed. And
wow.
so we're blocking all of this exterior stuff, so it feels like it's a little bit faster. And he's like, well, now mind you, I'm in the car, and he said, well, we'd like to do a live test. Would you be willing to do that? And I'm like, there's about 1,000 things that could go wrong with that. But when you're on live radio, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you just okay, sure.
It's like, well, okay, okay, we'll give it a shot. So they went to commercial, they set some things up, and they went through and did this test as soon as the commercial was over. And he didn't report to the audience what the test uh, said. And he said, well, something went wrong. Let's try that again. And they went to another commercial, and they came back, and he said, well, sure enough, it's speeding up the internet, and I just don't understand how that could be.
That's
And I was like so grateful. I was breathing a sigh of relief. I thought that we just blew something up in the radio station or something. But yes, it feels like it's a little bit faster, but it is really not. It's slowing it down. But because there's so much other activity going on that we don't see when we're traveling through the internet,
Mhm.
there's this thing called entourage that we call entourage that when you go, for example, into Google, there's like 20 other websites that attach themselves to your traffic, and we're
Mhm.
just pushing those things away, which makes it feel a little faster.
So there's basically what you're saying, there's a dissonance between the technicality and the practicality, right? So like technically speaking, it slows down the internet by 0.01%, which again is indistinguishable by any human measure. But because it's also getting rid of all the things that we're trying to latch on like leeches and slow you down, the actual experience is faster. That's interesting. Is that something that you believe is unique to SaferNet, or is that something that VPNs these days are getting better at? Like, let's talk about the broader technology, I guess is my point.
I think most VPNs are getting better at that. There's some VPNs that have been around for quite a while that they have a big name, but they don't they maybe not have kept up with the current technology. And but there's other companies that are a pretty big name and they have. So don't get me wrong on that. But in general speaking, because most VPNs are not designed for cybersecurity, they're designed for spoofing. There's a lot of the protocols that should be in place are skipped because they're really designed to bounce your location as opposed to keep you safe.
That's interesting. Okay, so let's back up a little bit though. I want to know about the early days of SaferNet. So you're the CEO and a co-founder, right? From what we talked about before. What inspired you and your co-founder to even start this company? I mean, were you guys, together at some corporate job and you said, "Oh, this sucks, let's make our own"? I mean, or was it just kind of an idea that happened over beers? Like, what was that early journey of what even made SaferNet a thing?
Um, that's a great question. We started out um, creating security protocols for routers, and we would have to upload um, uh, uh, different software into a router to get the router to behave the way it needed to behave to be safer. And we found that we got it to work really fine until the router would change their technology and then we'd be scrambling again. And we went for a couple of years working through that, realizing, what, this is not a good business because we're spending so much time on redeveloping the development that it just didn't work well. So we went back to our developers and said, how do we rethink this? And our developer happened to have been a developer for banks to create security for banks. And so we skipped the whole router piece and said, what if we just bypass the router and we work from device to server, device to wherever it's going in the safest way that we can? And the best way that we did it was through a VPN. But we didn't necessarily develop the VPN for the purpose of using the VPN. We developed this elaborate dashboard that actually works fantastic. We have 200 internet controls to allow somebody to control all aspects of a small business in that dashboard. And the way we transferred the information is through a VPN through the dashboard. So that's kind of the origination of the business, moving from one step to another.
Okay. And then I guess let's talk about the that journey after that. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, obviously you're doing well now. That's great. I guarantee there was no rainbows and unicorns all the way from beginning to end. So, what kind of struggles did you guys deal with early on after you've already pivoted to the VPN side, right? And then maybe what kind of struggles do you deal with now, but that you guys are working on and that's taking your attention to make sure it's quality.
Um, uh, we we have rebuilt this business a couple of times, which has not been fun. But one of the interesting things is that, just trying to get people interested in our company versus some of the big companies is a little bit of a journey. So we had this bright idea that when cryptocurrency came out, we thought, we can really work hard on developing a plan to be the expert in cybersecurity for cryptocurrencies, because you heard story after story of people getting ripped off on crypto.
Mhm.
And so we thought, well, what we'll do for every hour that someone stays connected to SaferNet, we're going to give away a cryptocurrency. And you could buy them, 1,000 for a penny. It wasn't like it was much money at all. So we had a dashboard on there. We were giving away crypto like it was nobody's business, and we were growing. It was actually working really, really well, and they could use their crypto to pay for SaferNet or buy little trinkets, whatever. And we were really growing nicely until we got an email from our credit card company saying we were violating cryptocurrency policies, and they
Oh,
shut us down and basically put us out of business in a week and just
wow.
devastated us. And the rule was you were not allowed to buy and sell crypto with credit cards. And we thought, we're not violating anything, we're giving it away, nobody's buying crypto. But they
Yeah.
didn't see it our way, and we lost. So
That's
so
a
we
gut
had to
punch. That's hard.
so we had to fix it, take crypto away, and then come back in and we just had to start rebuilding clients again, because when you hurt somebody, when you turn off your product and all of a sudden you think, what happened to SaferNet? They're not going to trust that as a cybersecurity company. So we had to start rebuilding from there. So there's always little bits and pieces as a small business trying to grow. And we talk about it all the time in our company. Tenacity is what makes this company successful. And you don't let go just because somebody's swinging a baseball bat at you. You just duck and keep going.
So who are your kind of optimal clients right now? Like what are there certain industries that you target that you guys service better than others, gaming or, like gambling and or anything like that? Is there any kind of industries that really benefit more for what they do, for what you have?
You know, our best client is the small business. And the reason that we are so good at small business is because, the medium and the large size businesses, they've got some of this security protocols in place, and they're working okay, and they're just trying to enhance and add a couple of bells and whistles in to make them a little safer. Where we work so well is the small business that has never done anything cybersecurity wise before. They think that their phone security is good enough, or the Windows products is going to keep them safe, and all of a sudden they realize, man, I am so vulnerable, I'm in deep trouble. And we are so simple to install and so simple to monitor. It puts somebody in this place that they're like, I can download this on all my endpoint devices. I've got a dashboard to control all of my businesses, and you can get it set up in about 20 minutes. So, and you don't have to pay an IT expert to do it. And so we get praises from small businesses all the time. It's like, you saved our life, and it's so easy. And so that part of it is a lot of fun.
Okay. What do you think makes it hard to scale in that arena, right? I mean, SMBs, there's almost an unlimited amount of them, which is good. I guess what makes it hard to go from maybe where you're at to, 20 million a year overnight kind of thing? Like what do you struggle with as far as getting SMBs to adopt at the rate that any business would obviously want to try to churn things up at?
Well, there's a jump between small businesses and then a business to the side where you need an MSP to manage it, right? And most MSPs have their protocols in place that they love. And so what happens is a small business that is loving us, everything is working great. They've grown to establish themselves. They go and hire an MSP, and if we don't get to that MSP fast enough, they're like, oh, I don't even know what SaferNet's. Let's dump that, and you start using our VPN. You start using our protocols, and so
Because they
we're
already have it built
balancing
into
this.
their system, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what we keep running into is, as soon as that MSP learns what we do, they're like, oh, that makes sense. But it's that gap in time to be able to communicate with them. And, we'll lose a good business and we go and talk to the owners. Oh yeah, our advisor said that they had better tools for medium-sized businesses, and it was just
Well, then,
somewhere we've not figured that whole piece out yet.
so I guess it sounds like targeting MSPs, and or at least maybe not in lieu of small businesses, but concurrently, right? Because I mean, if they're the ones that kind of come in already prepackaged, like you're saying, right, with their processes, that sounds like a great place to start. Which would kind of segues into my next question, which is, I'm a marketing guy by trade, so I always like to know like what are tech companies like yourselves currently doing for marketing right now? I mean, PR, okay, great. You're on a podcast. We got that one down. What else are you doing to get the word out about SaferNet?
We've been working hard on being an expert, which I don't even know if you can be an expert yet in AI. Our objective is to be able to stay on top of that world, and we've built some incredible AI tools into our dashboard that notifies an administrator of, hey, here's an anomaly. This employee is doing some things that they don't normally do. Pay attention. We have habit coding. We've got notifications. Well, we've also created a pretty elaborate AI that creates relationships, and we're one of those people that drive you nuts on your inbox, where we're sending you these emails, but it's tremendously successful for us because we're pulling out the information that's needed to create a relational conversation with a CEO or a business owner of some sort. So we pull out all the different um, internet posts, LinkedIn posts or whatever it is, saying, hey, I see you've been talking about this. Here's an idea of how you might be able to do this or whatever it is. And the AI is having this conversation, and then they're saying, gosh, I'd like to learn more about what you do. And they schedule a meeting, and we've got a couple of people having ongoing meetings. And
Yeah,
so
like a social engagement kind of thing.
and it's working well right now. I think it'll work well for maybe another year or so until people get tired of that particular tool. But um, to answer your question, it is an ongoing research project. One of the things that I did recently is I don't know if yeah, I don't have this tool, but I wrote a book called God, the Devil, and the Internet.
Huh.
And it has generated a lot of interest. As a matter of fact, on Amazon, they consider it a bestseller, and I'm not 100% sure how they do their algorithms, because I don't necessarily see that as a bestseller, but they report it as a bestseller for, I don't know, I think February or March. But in my mind, what it does is it brings some truth around what's really going on behind the internet. And so I think that the goal is to just get out there as much as we can and establish ourselves as authorities so that people have confidence in us and trust that our product is going to keep them safe.
Okay. So let's kind of segue into kind of something you touched on earlier with the technology. Where do you see the VPN technology in the next, let's say, 1 to 5 years, right? What kind of advancements or innovations do you think are either coming or need to, based on other things like AI or quantum tech and things like that? And then where are you trying to be as a company in a year?
Um, Really good questions, and I do think that that the reality is everything is changing dramatically with AI, in a way that is really kind of surprising. And that brings you exactly into that big question is what is quantum computing going to do to cybersecurity? Because truthfully, you can't break a VPN technology with the present technology. I mean, you just can't live long enough trying to do that. But quantum computing can blow through a VPN technology rather rapidly.
Mhm.
And most people don't have access to quantum computing at this point. However, that's not that's going to change. And so the VPN right now we're 256-bit encrypted, just like most VPNs are. But that's not going to hold up against the new technology that's coming. And so AI has to help develop stronger technology, whether it's the VPN technology or something different. But we're right now on the brink of massive changes in cybersecurity. And so from my perspective, it's a matter of um, how do we continue the research? And so sorry, I got something in my throat, but
So
um, our developers, we're digging on this rather rapidly. We've got developers that are developing banking cybersecurity, and they are the developers that we've used since the beginning. And they're doing development work for banks around the world. And we have the ability to hang with them in their development structure. So we will always be on the bank level of security and continue to adjust as we go. But most of our protection is within that world. And so um, that is when we sit around and have development conversations, this conversation is the one that we have the most.
Sure, yeah. The because it's what's coming down the pike, right? So I've had other discussions with previous guests, specifically in the quantum computing stuff, and it just blows my mind. Like the fact that it's not on the front page of every newspaper every day to me is kind of crazy. Like, because it's like, is anyone not paying attention to what's happening here? Like, and like you said, not many people have access to it. The problem is the types of people who do. There are some bad actors in that, right? I mean, specifically at the state, country government level, right? We like to hope and think we're the good guys, but even then, it's like, well, we have to advance that technology far enough so that if the other guys try to hit us with it, that we have enough protections, right? It's this whole cat and mouse game. But yeah, it is interesting to see how the something that businesses and individuals can use, like a VPN, right? Because I actually plan on signing up for yours here after this show because I want to check it out. I'm actually specifically curious about how much faster I think my internet's going to feel because I never thought about that idea about scraping off the barnacles, so to speak, right, and getting rid of the leeches that are attacking and latching on to my bandwidth. So I'm going to try that out. So I'll get back to you on that. But let me ask you, since you're a CEO, you've been through a lot, right? I mean, like I said, like you said, you rebranded and restructured multiple times, right? And pivoting, which is the smart thing to do when circumstances, change in an industry. But other than kind of the standard stick with it advice that a lot of people give, that one aside, what is the best piece of advice that you could give a fledgling CEO that's just coming, getting into it and is about to hit the unexpected wall of whatever that might be, or just in general for the tech space? What's kind of maybe the best part of wisdom you can impart on them?
Um, that I love your questions because they're very thought-provoking questions. They're very, very good. One thing I want to touch before I answer that question is I just want to reassure people I'm in conversations with some incredibly amazing people that are doing some technology in cyber that is far beyond even my understanding. And there's a lot of work being done trying to take care of these quantum computing concerns. And I'm not able to share somebody else's story, but it is not. I have great concerns about where the whole thing is going because we're in this world all the time, and I see things that are just, uh, not great things. And but yet I know that there, from a lot of conversations in this world, there's a lot of people that are on top of it, and they're making a lot of excellent headway to the point where it's more testing as opposed to ideas. In our world, we're a small company trying to keep up with these larger companies. And so the larger companies know what they're doing, and we're kind of following in their footsteps. We are, so I don't want people to panic about that because there's a lot of people making a lot of really good headway. And so anyway, coming back to your question, um, I, I just wrote a book that is not published yet, but it will be shortly. I've got a couple of books out, but it's called The Power of Or. And the idea behind the book is the fact that we can come up with these conclusions like this technology is going to kick our tails and we're going to have a lot of problem, or we're going to develop something that will be far more superior than what the bad guys have access to.
Mhm.
Uh, and so the 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 idea of the power of or is that we always can add an or to anything that we're overly concerned with to push us past the point of concern. And if we maintain, as a CEO, if we maintain constant level of curiosity over where can we go from here. Our technology is far beyond where we ever imagined it would have been 5 years ago. It is, I'm super proud of our technology. I think we have the best developers in the world on our technology. Um, but in any conversation, we never settle. We're like, what else can we add to this? Our curiosity is always, uh, or can we beat every big company out there with some technology that nobody else has? That's part of what our technology has done so far with our AI is that, our AI can go in there and take a look at all of the users that you have. You might have 20 employees, and it'll pull out an anomaly out of one of your employees, notify the IT, and say, I might take a look and pay attention to this user because the user behavior is far different this week than it was last week. Just watch their traffic.
Mhm.
And because there's a lot of inside threats to a company, not just outside threats. And our
Mhm.
technology is designed to pay attention to both inside and outside threats and report it on a very detailed dashboard.
No, I agree. It's interesting. When I was having these other conversations, the one thing that really didn't come up was the user side of it, right? Everything's kind of like in this B2B in the enterprise level, like what'll happen if bad state actors come after big corporations and whatnot. And I think what's interesting, especially when we're talking about VPNs, things that regular everyday people would have a benefit in using. It's like, okay, but how is that going to affect us, right? Are they coming for our stuff, kind of thing, too, along with going after these, other countries or Microsoft or who knows, right? But anyway, we could go probably for hours on this, to be honest, because we're both nerds and this is what we like to talk about. But Brad, listen. I appreciate you coming on the show. Where can people find you personally if they heard something that they really liked and they want to reach out to you? And then where can they find SaferNet in general?
So you can find SaferNet at safernet.com, or safernetvpn.com, get you the same place. You can also find me on LinkedIn just under Bradley or Brad Hawkins, and or you can find the book on Amazon under Bradley Hawkins. I publish under that name. And that'll give you a little more detailed technology of the cybersecurity that I see coming in the future. So,
And what remind me the two names of both books one more time.
God, the Devil, and the Internet
I love that title. That's a
is
great title.
about is about our cybersecurity, and the power of or. is not quite out yet, but hopefully within the next month or two, depending on publisher's speed. So yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you have to keep me updated on that one. And
Okay.
listen, for everyone else listening right now, thank you so much again for listening to another episode of the Future of BizTech. And hey, if you liked it, give it 5-star rating, share it, comment, all that good stuff, because that is how tech nerds like us find cool podcasts like this. Brad, thanks again so much for being on the show. And I look forward to actually testing out your VPN to see if it makes my internet faster too.
Awesome.